Right, can you please put your hands together for Carl? Carl Bell. The only thing I'd like to say about Carl is he said he would rather chew his arm off than stand here and speak. So it's not something he loves doing, but it's something he's bloody good at doing. Okay? I'm going to hand over. Carl.
I never thought I could speak, but I came here tonight to kill a giant. I said I came here to kill a giant. Okay. As a child, I never spoke. I was so quiet, and I never cried. Does anyone know a child that doesn't cry? I don't think so. I never cried. And I was so quiet, my friends came to the house and said, you need to take Carl to meet some other children so he can learn how to cry. You laugh, but it's true. I didn't cry. I remember my first day at school, and the school was at the bottom of the road, and I was terrified because it meant I'd need to meet other people and I'd have to talk. And I went to school, and the first day, there were so many children there, screaming and crying. I was thinking, I can't do this. And I remember they gave me my tag with my name on it. Guess what? I knew my name. But I was so confused. And I thought, I can't do school. How am I going to manage coming here every day? I'm going to have to speak to people. I had absolutely no confidence. So time went on. I was quiet at school and I was quiet at home. So people assumed I was stupid. And they told me I was stupid because I didn't speak, I didn't connect, I had no connection with people. You would find me in a cupboard with a toy, asleep. My sister she's 13 months older than me, and she was a big person, a big personality. And I could never compete with her personality. I could never compete with what she did and what she said. So I became a victim because she started to bully me. So I bullied at home. And I went to school and I was quiet. So I got bullied at school. So by the time I was I'd probably say 6 or 7, schools always said, Carl has no confidence. He never speaks. He doesn't interact. And the bullying at home and the bullying at school was a vicious circle because I didn't speak at home, I didn't speak at school. I was bullied at home, I was bullied at school. I remember getting to probably 7 or 8 and thinking, I can't cope with this. And I thought, I've got to find a way to end my life. And I remember walking to the top of my stairs in my house and looking down at looking at the landing window and thinking, I could jump, but if I jump, it's not high enough. I'm never going to die. Can you imagine wanting to kill yourself at the age of 8 or 9? I just couldn't cope with it. That was a defining moment. My father, strong guy, worked at a foundry. A very violent person. And always told me, you're stupid, you're never going to have anything, you're never going to be anyone, you're never going to go anywhere. So that gave my confidence the world of good. And he came home one day and said to me, he brought a broom. He worked for the family. You know the big brooms you sweep with? He brought home a massive broom and said to me, this is all you're ever going to need in your life. You're never going to be anything. That was like a spear through my heart. And I just thought, you know what? I started, it was a change in my life, because the next couple of years I thought, I've looked at the evidence that people said I'm stupid, but there is no evidence. So I'm not going to believe what people said about me. And I'm going to set about proving everybody wrong. It kind of manifests itself in a violent way, because then I went, anyone who ever bullied me, I went to find them. And let's just say retaliation was not minimal. I would beat you in public, so everybody knew about it. So by the time I left school, I'd fought the geography teacher, I'd kicked down the music teacher, I'd strangled the deputy head, it wasn't a good situation. School wasn't good for me because no one had ever told me I would be anything or be anyone. So I had to prove people wrong. So the journey in terms of transformation changed because I decided that I need to change the balance of things. Transformation takes place when you have a desire to change. And if someone's told you you're ugly or you're stupid, you start to believe it. I refuse to believe it anymore and decided that although you told me I'm a caterpillar, I'm a butterfly. The transformation from a caterpillar to a butterfly is not pretty. You go through crisis. You go through. It's a painful thing. But I decided that I was more than people said I could be, and set about proving them wrong in everything that I could. No one told me I would travel, that I would own properties, that I would have a business, that I have a beautiful wife and a family. Nobody told me that. They told me I couldn't. But I decided I've got absolutely nothing to lose. I've got everything to gain. And I'm no longer going to believe the lies people told me. Has anybody ever told you a lie? There's 3 of you there. It's a nice life. Have you believed it? You realize a lot of us have formed our whole life on a lie that was being told by somebody else. I decided to rewrite that book of that lie and change my life and start believing in me. Start believing that I did have a voice, that I could speak, that I had something to say, and people would be interested in hearing it. So you're listening to someone who never spoke, never cried, was told they were hopeless, and would never be anything. And I'm sure there's someone in this room that's had an experience where they've been told that they are not going to be anything. Has anybody ever watched the film Lion King? Can you admit it? Yeah. Who's the king lion in Lion King? Mustafa. There's a line in there that I never forget. Mustafa said, "Simba, you are more than you have become." And I decided, no matter what people told me, I was more than I've become. So I'm telling you this story, 1, because it's true, and 2, because there's bound to be people who have been lied to about who they really are. So the key things, what people say about you is not that important. What's important is what you say about you. What you say about you. Don't let anybody keep you in a lie or the victim of what they have said about you. One of the final points, don't let your past paralyze you from achieving your future. Say it with me. Don't let your past paralyze you from achieving your future. Look at your neighbor and say, don't let your past paralyze you from reaching your future. One more time before I finish. Don't let your past paralyze you from achieving your future. Is the giant dead? Kill that giant.
I can see me doing a dance move this morning.
My question is about your growth. So you said, you went through something you didn't really say much, didn't really cry and stuff like that. How did you manage to build emotionally, and did you find any balance between being a very stoic person, especially for a man? Because I don't know if it's a general thing, but obviously one time men are just told, to be strong you have to learn it, and it just is what it is. We don't cry, we don't show too much emotion. So how did you find your emotional growth as you transitioned into professional?
I don't know if there's an easy answer to that, because it's a process. Change takes place, transformation takes place over a period of time. I decided I wasn't going to take it anymore, and bit by bit started to believe more in me. It's not like you can transform yourself by top of your Oyster card, going up the West End and coming back again. You're still the same person, but you've got to keep. I had enough of. I got uncomfortable with what people said and decided there's more to me than you say about me. And no matter how much times you knock me down, I'm going to refuse to believe what you've told me. Because inside me, I believe there's something else. So it's almost, I blocked out whatever anybody said and just single-mindedly went for whatever I wanted. So no matter how much times I was knocked down, and it still happens, I don't care what people say about me. That's their business. What I say about me is more important. So speaking to what you say about you. So my transformation came from just pushing forward and refusing to believe a lie. And we'll talk about it.
You said that when you was younger, you didn't cry. Did you feel that there was no purpose to it, or did you feel that crying was seen as weak?
It's just an emotion that never developed. And I became numb to things happening around me. So people would die and I wouldn't cry. I just refused to let that emotion in, which was probably a bad thing. So it was strange. I don't know. I was a child that just didn't learn how to cry. Nothing kind of fazed me. Probably because I never connected with anything. So if you don't connect with anything, then there's no emotion. I just didn't connect. So there was me and me. Although there was my whole family, they were somewhere else. So as it's a difficult way to answer it, but I just didn't connect emotionally. So, and growing up as a young boy, you know, don't cry, toughen up, and all the rest of it. So that just compounded it. So it just never happened.
So when was the first time you cried? What made you cry? Or when did you bawl?
The first time I really cried, that I remember crying, was on the 26th of January 2004. I remember it. I went to church and I accepted Jesus Christ in my life as my Lord and Savior. And I cried and cried and I couldn't, I thought, what have they done to me? You know, what's happened? And I went home and cried, and then I cried in church, and since then, a chain was broken. Something changed in me. Something that had been tied up in me probably all my life. But that was the day that I got released from it. So.
I know how difficult it's been for you to stand there and say this. And Alex and I was just talking about your journey. And I just wanted to say, for those of you who don't realise, this has been ridiculously hard for him to do, so I'm so proud of you.
Is about that space where you come on and you break the chain that holds that keeps that story true. This isn't a stage for perfecting your art. It's just really to craft the story that sets you free. And with that, can we just have one more round of applause for Cal?